Today, the team QuantumCoders is going to present on their CCP project, which is a Tic Tac Toe game in C language. The members of our team are Taha, Ahmed, Mallick, Abdul, Raheem, Sheikh, and Maryum Mairaj. So, guys, let's begin with the introduction into what our CCP project is about. This project is a simple tic-tac-toe game written in the C language. It allows two players to take turns, marking spaces on a 3 by 3 grid with X and O. The goal is to form a line horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. The program displays the board after each move and checks for a winner or a draw. It uses concepts like arrays, loops, conditional statements, and user input to control the game. Let's begin with the code setup. At the beginning, we can see At the beginning, the studio header file is included to use functions like printf and scanf for user input and output. The studio library is included for the system function using which we clear the screen. And the windows.h library is only included when it detects it is a window machine. We use this library to set Windows console to UTF-8 encoding so that grid can be presented neatly, which is made up of Unicode characters. The array board 9 scores the game cells, each cell label 1 to 9. These numbers are replaced by X or O when players make their moves. Other arrays store winning patterns to check for results later in the program. This setup basically forms the base structure of the game.
Now I will explain step 2 and step 3 of our tic-tac-toe game project in C. In step 2, main function flow, this part controls how the entire game runs. First, we have a variable called player, which keeps track of whose turn is it. Another variable mark, which stores symbol either X or O, depending on the player. The main function uses a while one loop, which means it runs continuously until the game ends. Inside the loop, the game board is displayed. The print board functions so that players can see the current state of the game. Then the player is asked to enter the position where they want to mark their place. If the player gives a valid input, that position is updated with its mark. But if the player enters an invalid position, the position uses a flag. The statement to ask the same player to try again. Moving to step 3. Marking and checking for win. Once the player successfully marks a valid box, that box in the array is updated with their symbol, then the program calls a function called checkWin. This function checks all possible winning combinations, rows, columns, and diagonals. If a winning line is found, the game stops and displays a winner message showing which player won. If the entire board gets filled and there is no winner, the game declares a draw. So basically, step 2 controls the flow of the game, and step 3 handles the main logic and decides the result, whether someone wins or the game ends in a draw. Thank you.
So our program contains two functions. One is print board function to print the board, and other is check win function to check if someone is winning, any player. The print board function, this is a function responsible for displaying a 3 by 3 grid to a user. It first clears the screen using the system function, and then it uses color-coded symbols to draw the grid. And if a player wins, it highlights that winning line too. This function keeps player informed about the game's status. It uses loops to efficiently print the board and marks X as red and O as green. While if a winning pattern is found, it colors it with blue. Here is our print board function. This is print board function. First, it clears the screen, then it prints the tic-tac-toe game heading, then player 1 and player 2 their marks, after which it prints the board using these two for loops. And if mark is X, it colors it with red. If a mark present there is O, then it colors it with green. Then we have another function. This is win checker. It checks all the 8 possible winning combinations that are 3 rows, 3 columns, and 2 diagonals. It compares the symbols in each line to see if they are same. If it is, then it returns 1. 1 means that that a player is winning. And if it returns -1, that means it has checked all the cells and they are all filled and they and no winning combination is formed. So it returns -1. Otherwise, it returns 0 to continue as normal. It also uses arrays and loops to efficiently loop through all the winning combination. This is our win check function. First, it che- First these line checks for if there is any combination found. If a player is winning, then this is for to check this. Then these lines are present to check if it is a draw. It checks if all the boards are filled, and if all the cells are filled, that are the 9 cells are filled, then it returns -1. Otherwise, it just returns 0 and continues normal. This was our program.
Now I will elaborate the different difficulties that we faced during the making of our CCP project and how we tried to resolve them. So throughout the development of the tic-tac-toe game in C, there were several challenges that we encountered that tested both our logic and our debugging skill. So each of the issue provided us an opportunity to understand the inner workings of the C programming more deeply and also strengthen the overall structure of the project. The following sections are describing the key problems that we faced, their causes, and how they were effectively resolved. So let's move on to the first problem. So the
Sorry,
first
मेरा
problem
mic
we faced
slow
was
हो
the
गया.
input validation errors. One of the earliest challenges was dealing with the invalid player inputs. When a user entered characters or symbols instead of numbers, the program either entered an infinite loop or it crashed unexpectedly. So this occurred because the scanf function that we were using attempted to read an integer but encountered incompatible data types, leaving the unread characters into the input buffer. Now to solve this, the input validation was being implemented using the if statement, and then we used also a buffer clearing statement alongside it, which ensured that any invalid input was discarded safely before the program accepted the new data. As a result, the game became much more stable and much more user friendly. So now let's visualize it on our code. Here we have used this input statement, that is a validation check right here. So if the user is going to enter any of the invalid data, such as a character or a symbol, then it is going to enter an infinite loop and it is going to basically do not run. And then if that invalid data has been entered, then it will be cleared through this buffer statement that is being used over here. The next problem that we faced was overwriting of the player moves. So at first the players were able to overwrite each other's moves, which broke the fairness of the game. So this happened because there was no condition preventing users from selecting a position that was already occupied or filled. So this solution was to add a validation check over there using an if statement. This ensured that each move could only be placed in an unoccupied box. Once a cell contained an X or an O, the program disallowed any further changes to it, thus enforcing the proper game rules. Let's visualize it on the code. So here we have basically included that validation check to basically ensure that all of the responses or the input that is given by the user only fills the unoccupied boxes, not the occupied ones. So this basically ensured that our game was fair and allowing everyone as an to participate with equal fairness.
Now I will discuss two main problems that we faced while developing our Tic Tac Toe game in C and how we solved them. The first problem was incorrect win detection. Another major difficulty was the program's failure to correct diagonal victories. Initially, the game recognized horizontal and vertical wins, but sometimes ignored diagonal ones. For example, if a player completed a diagonal lines of X or O's, the game sometimes ignored it and continued running. After initializing the issue, we find that the problem was caused by mismatch between the logical indices of the array and their display position on the board. To fix this, we use the formula j plus I into 3, which help to properly map each position in the 3 by 3 grid with its correct index in the 1D array. Once we applied this correction, the program was able to correctly detect all 8 winning combinations, 3 rows, 3 columns, and 2 diagonals. Second problem. Let's talk about our second problem. Our second problem is we faced a draw condition not recognized. In early tests, when all boxes were filled without any winner, the program continued prompting players for moves indefinitely. This occurred because there was no condition to check whether the grid was full. This happened because there was no condition to check whether the grid was completely full. We solved this by using check win in our program. Let me show you. If all 9 boxes contain either X or O and no winning line was found, the program returned -1. We use the condition of filling 9 boxes here, and then we use -1 if it's fine, which indicate a draw. After adding this logic, the game could finally identify when it was a draw, making the overall program complete and realistic. Okay.
So the fifth problem we encountered was the replay feature man function. While adding the replay feature, an error was observed where the board displayed mixed symbols from the previous match. This happened because the board was not being reinitialized properly before the next round began. To fix this, we needed a reset loop. So we added this, which is located in our program here. After, if the choice of the user is Y, which means it wants to play again, then the board goes into a reinitialization step where it reinitializes to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and also the win position are set to 9, which are the default ones. Then player is set to 1, status is again set to 0, and flag is set to 0. So the next round can begin. Then the sixth problem we encountered was Unicode character compatibility. By default, Windows consoles aren't compatible with UTF-8 encoding. We used Unicode characters to print a need grid. To display it properly onto Windows terminal, we first need to enable it, which is done using these lines below, which are located in our code above here. After the int main function, if a Windows system is found, then it runs this line, which sets the Windows console to UTF-8 encoding, so that it can print a nice grid of Tic Tac Toe game. These were all the problems that were encountered during the program build.
Throughout this whole journey, there were some of the lessons that we learned. Overcoming these all challenges and difficulty taught us many valuable lessons about programming discipline and the systematic debugging. The process reinforced several key principles. First was that input validation is quite essential. Never trust the user input, always verify the data types and the boundaries. Second was the modular code design, keeping the related logic within the functions, like using print board or check when improves readability and maintainability throughout our whole program. Then we followed a logical consistency. We always mapped visual representation and data structure correctly to avoid the index mismatches. Then cross-platform awareness program should be tested across environments to ensure consistent behavior. Incremental debugging, testing one feature at a time, helps isolate bugs and leads to efficient troubleshooting. In conclusion, every difficulty faced during the development process contributed to stronger problem solving ability, deeper command over C syntax, and a practical understanding of structured programming. These lessons not only improved the project's final outcome, but also provided foundational skills for tackling more advanced software development challenges in the future.
Conclusion. This tic-tac-toe game is a perfect example of how to use arrays, loops, functions, and conditions in C programming. It also teaches us how to manage player turns, validate user input, and display results interactively. By studying this program, beginners can improve their logical thinking and understand how small programs combine to create complete games. This game also eliminates the need to use paper and pen, makes it easier to play it again and again. This tic-tac-toe project was a great learning journey of our team. We learned teamwork, problem solving, and how to think like programmers. We are proud of what we created and we look forward to make even more advanced projects in the future. Thank you.